The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight.
It is unfortunate that the administration
The man leading the charge to defund Obamacare gets shouted down by far-left activists at a conservative event, but Ted Cruz may have the last laugh.
I'm actually glad that the president's whole political staff is here instead of actually doing mischief in the country.
We'll have the latest on the showdown in D.C.
We're going to do a challenge. I'm going to try and download every movie ever made. And you're going to try and sign up for Obamacare, and we'll see which happens first.
Okay.
Anger over the Obamacare rollout is boiling over. And now Republicans are demanding answers on what they call an inexcusable mess. Just how bad is it? Oh, it's bad. We'll have a special report.
Don't I have free speech, sir?
And a college campus bans a student from passing out copies of the Constitution on Constitution Day. How'd that happen?
You have to go through the rules and regulations that have already been set. But why are there rules and regulations placed on free speech?
Now the student is fighting back in court. We'll have that story. Caution! This is my finger. And you're about to enter the no spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The government shutdown and me. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Whenever something bad happens, some bozo will call it a learning experience. I've had a lot of learning experiences. Ask my wife. But with the shutdown, it's true. For example, I learned that 93% of the workers at the Environmental Protection Agency are non-essential. Now, I didn't major in math, but I'm pretty sure that's more than 9 out of 10. Of the 16,000, roughly 1 grand are essential, making the EPA about as necessary as shoulder pads on a snake or another Hangover sequel or Vermont. And so we learn the difference between essential and non-essential in government. A non-essential employee is what you get when the citizen foots the bill and the government doesn't care. We are the wallets, they are the spoiled brats. In a private business, a non-essential employee would be a non-employee. He or she would be home eating Funyuns, which are delicious, in their undies, scratching a lot. He would look like Andy Dick. A non-essential employee is what you get when you feed cash into a bloated bureaucracy without ever designating its necessity. So those EPA jobs are there simply because they can be, but also to ensure the survival of a ravenous bureaucracy. It's a lot like the movie The Blob, but without the happy ending. And that's the memo. Now for the top story. Reaction. Joining me now from Nashville, a lovely place, Scotty Nell Hughes, news director for the Tea Party News Network. And from Washington, Richard Fowler. Beautiful picture behind him. A radio talk show host and former policy director for the Young Democrats of America. So, Scotty, I want to go to you first. Wouldn't a private company in which 9 out of 10 workers are non-essential sink faster than Michael Moore in a ball pit?
Well, completely. And that's the thing, Greg. And if a small business is in a crunch, what they do is they literally go into survival mode. They cut off the fat and they do what it takes to exist until they're ready to grow again. Well, that's different with our economy and our government, because when they're in survival mode, all they have to do is raise taxes and they solve their problem. That's how we've gotten into the problem that we're in today.
Hey, Richard, I have a theory. I have many of them are wrong, but I believe the shutdown illuminates what's not needed. It's like one of those infrared flashlights that show dirt in hotel rooms. Isn't that kind of true? You kind of see the stuff that, maybe we don't need that. You call downstairs and you get a new pillow.
Greg, I wish it was that easy. That's just not necessarily the truth, though. I think if you talk to the World War II veterans who went to the World War II Memorial and found it to be closed because the park rangers couldn't be there, you would say that they were essential. Or if you were to talk to the 30 children who need to get cancer screenings from the NIH who cannot no longer get them, you would say they would argue that those staff members are essential. So while there is a distinction between essential and non-essential employees, the non-essential employees are still critical to making this government run.
Well, Richard, you raise a good point that I dislike veterans and ill kids. But I think that raises a question, Scotty, that the administration might have been picking and choosing what to shut to create what they would call political heat. Because if you actually made piecemeal budget changes, you wouldn't have the pressure to make a decision or compromise.
You're completely right. And it's funny that you mentioned spoiled brats in your talking points, because that's what Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and John McCain are acting like, because they say Ted Cruz's filibuster was a PR stunt gone bad. In reality, his PR stunt was fantastic because it's actually accomplished things. And what this administration has done...
How'd that accomplish
Well,
anything?
but no, it didn't accomplish, because here's the deal. This administration has sat there and tried to punish people like they have with the World War II veterans. They've tried to punish people back when we had the sequester that were getting chemo. They've tried to do things that would totally backlash and make people hate the Republicans. The good news is, despite the liberal media spin, the American people are not buying it. They're seeing through, because the administration is keeping a third of the 1,700 of the staff members of Obama, and we're seeing the congressional, their gyms being open. So the administration's obviously using this to punish those that actually are speaking out against them.
Listen, I got to tell you, I wish I could agree with you, but I just don't. The reason why the congressional gym is open is because John Boehner controls that. But the only people that here that are acting like fifth graders on the playground, or brats, as you would say, Greg, are those individuals who are trying to pick winners and losers here, which is the Republican caucus in the United States House of Representatives. They want to open up certain things that will allow for them to run campaign ads in the next election so that they can put out their political wins. At the end of the day, what the president is trying to do is open up the entire government. And nobody can seem to answer the question to me as to why we shouldn't open up the entire government.
Well, that's what the debate's about, though. You don't need to open up the entire government. And you have to admit, the priorities here are screwed up. You talk about stopping clinical trials, but keeping the gym open. It's like this is a decision being made by a blind man using a dartboard. It doesn't make any sense, and you can't use that to say we shouldn't have a shutdown or we shouldn't trim government because it's done incompetently. Do it competently.
Exactly. And Richard, to your point, in all honesty, yes, guess what? The congressionals and the Republicans level, and their approval ratings are dropping, but Ted Cruz's are going up. The president's are going down. So the American people are siding with what Ted Cruz is forcing them to do, which are make cuts right there. No, it's simple. These are the lowest ratings that President Obama has had since he's gone into office.
Anybody out
lowest ratings in Congress, lowest rating of Republicans.
Who wants to back Ted Cruz, that's just fine, because all Ted Cruz will allow us to default on our debt. He will allow us to, he will destroy this country, he'll destroy this economy.
It's the Democrats that are making us default.
It's all political ploys for Ted Cruz, and that's the problem here. Ted Cruz has sent out more fundraising emails than my mom gives sweaters at Christmas, and it's just it's ridiculous.
I like that line. No, but
a great line.
The point is, so do the Democrats, Richard. You guys are guilty of the same thing. If there's a Republican president, I mean, let's go back to Senator Obama, who was okay with defaulting on the debt back before he, discovered politics.
But I hear that, Greg, but the Democrats have never once shut down this government under George W. Bush. We always came to the table and always worked with the president. What we've seen from this party is that they will do everything possible, including allowing the good faith and credit of the United States government to go bust to take down President Obama. Mitch McConnell said it 4 years ago. They wanted to make him a one-term president. Now they will do everything in their power to make sure that this president fails. And it's
Richard,
horrible.
You're wrong on that. If we default, it's because of the Democrats. We have the money in the bank. We have the interest. We have the interest to cover our debts. But let me recommend this little book that was written by a wise philosopher.
When China says that they are concerned that we might default on our debt, we have a serious crisis on our hands, and
but
these Republicans
we're only going to default if Obama allows us
economy.
We have the money to. But you know what? You need to go read this book by this that talks about the joy of hate. And in this book, it will tell you that they go after the people that make common sense. That's why they're going after Ted Cruz.
Greg's got to send me a copy. Greg, you got to send me a copy.
A surprise plug. Scotty's coming back. All right. Thanks, Scotty. Richard, great job. Next on the rundown, Texas Senator Ted Cruz turns the tables on a bunch of nasty hecklers during a speech. We're going to show you the tape.
Ma'am, thank you for being here. I wish you would participate in the democratic process through speaking respectfully.
And then, was the rollout of Obamacare a complete catastrophe or a total catastrophe? We'll debate the finer points upcoming. I'd stick around. Make a sandwich.